Welcome to the JAWN Podcast. I'm your host, Shalia.
And your host, Janina.
And today, y'all, we have Chiquita from Chronicles of a Virgo Podcast here with us today. So I'm outnumbered again, y'all. We got two Virgos.
Yes, the best to do
it. So we're going to start with our words of affirmation. And today's affirmation says, God will put you back together in front of those who broke you. So, yes.
Fitting for this topic, yes.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. When I was thinking about what affirmation, I was like, that's the one. That is the one. So let's check in, and since Chiquita is our guest, but she's not a stranger because she's been here before, let's check in. How are you feeling mentally and physically on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, first and foremost, thank you ladies for inviting me back. I love talking to y'all. So today I'm going to give myself a rating of, I'm gonna say about a 8.5. Like mentally, I'm good, but I think I'm just, tired, just starting a new job, going through all the trainings and things. So I'm a little exhausted or whatever. But otherwise, I'm fine. I'm blessed, highly favored.
Yeah, 8.5 is good. Good. What about you, Janina? Where you at today?
Probably a 7, maybe like a 7.3. Like a 7, like a 7.3. I'm okay. I had a doctor's appointment today, but I couldn't make it. So, but I'm okay.
Did you reschedule your doctor's appointment?
She said she's going to have someone call me so I could set up a telehealth appointment. Okay. Yeah, I was like literally on my way to the doctor's when Aiden School called me. But because I feel like, I got blood work done on Monday, and I feel like that's just kind of like what the appointment was going to be, going over my blood work. So
okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm like a 7. My allergies are killing me. I got a lot going on, y'all. I'm like the good. I went to the eye doctor on Monday, and it wasn't good news.
Oh yeah. Oh God, I went yesterday.
My eyes are narrow, right? And one of the medications that I take, the side effect of it is glaucoma. But because my eyes are so small, the glaucoma has no room in my eye, which is so weird. But she was explaining it. I'm like, so I have to get this surgery to remove it. If I don't remove it, then it's going to keep moving forward in my eye and eventually block my vision.
Wow.
So I have to get the surgery.
And so you do have glaucoma?
I do. So and the bad part about it is they only do one eye at a time. So I'm like, y'all can't just do both eyes.
Oh, like, it's in both eyes.
Yeah, it's in both eyes. This my right eye is worse though. So this is like, you can't wait. You gotta get this done ASAP. But again, they don't do both eyes at the same time. So I mean, the doctor is really, really nice. She explained everything in detail. At first I was a little scared, but now I'm like praying about it because when people tell us we have to get surgery on our arm or our leg, we're not as worried. But your eyes, that's something really, really serious. So dealing with that, but I think once I get it and see what it entails and know that I'm going to be fine, because it's supposed to improve my vision a whole lot. So I just have to be patient and pray and go from there. So that's where I'm at. All right. So, I like that joint. Nope, I don't like that joint at prime time. What you got, Chiquita?
That's when we talk about something that we had like listened to or watched this week, right? Okay. Yeah. So I haven't been able to watch or listen to a whole lot of stuff this week because I've just been so busy with work. But I did catch a new podcast. B Simone. launched her new
Oh
podcast.
yeah, she did.
Oh, did she?
How was
She
it?
did. Yeah. I was like, I've always liked B Simone. So I was like, let me go be nosy. Like, let's see what, what she's talking about. Is she gonna spill a little tea about her and
Mm-hmm.
Megan?
Right.
She's just going through like a transformation in her life. She talked about different relationships she had to let go of, talked about like her spiritual growth and her relationship with God. She called herself a chronic entrepreneur, like someone that like always starts these businesses even if it fails. Like, I'm going to continue to just start, like I'm not going to give up. Talked about getting closer with her family and certain friends and people that have hurt her, and just wishing other people well in their endeavors and different
Hmm.
things.
She wasn't
I
dropping the tea.
No, she really
She was
not
keeping it
really.
cute.
Some of the comments she said, it can be perceived as being shady towards,
Mm.
I
Megan.
know
Of course,
her layout was shady. Did you see
I didn't
that?
think so. Yeah,
You didn't
I
think
didn't
so?
think no, because I mean, again, I see how people perceive it to be shady, but I watched this other girl talk about it, and she's like, it was kind of like comical. Like B Simone is a freaking comedian too. She's like, what's that chair there for? Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
you know but otherwise I was like, okay, I want to continue to listen, because I want to see if she's going to talk about her immediate friend circle, because they all were friends. And just to see it, y'all just talked about friendships and things last week on your episode. So you're outgrowing each other, or like one person, two people are not friends in this circle. Like, how are we all
Mhm.
continuing to like connect? So I think just continue to listen and watch her. It'll be interesting to see her growth and like where she goes with her new platform.
Yeah. I know she recently celebrated her birthday,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you've seen any of the clips of that, but I was looking like, who there? But I really couldn't tell. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And she talked about like giving up certain things, like people pleasing, and like just different, and I resonated with a lot of the stuff she was saying. I was just like, oh my god. But that's how growth is. When you start to like release certain things and people from your life, you realize a shift in your whole demeanor. And sometimes it's hurtful to see that, like, damn, was this person really holding me back, or like, but
Hmm.
yeah.
Mm.
So we'll see how things continue to flow with her.
I didn't know she put out the first episode. I just seen the trailer. So I'm gonna definitely
Mhm.
go listen. So I know she experienced a miscarriage too. Did she
Mhm.
talk anything about that?
Mm, no, she didn't mention nothing specific about like the miscarriage. She did mention that she's been hurt like 4 times by 4 different people in her life, and two happened when she was a child, and two happened as an adult.
Okay.
And I guess she had a lawsuit with somebody. Did y'all hear about that? Like an old
Mm-mm.
friend or someone, a business
Um,
partner.
Mm-mm.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but she ran
She
into the
was
person.
suing, getting sued or something. Oh,
But she
she
don't.
ran into.
Yeah, she had a dream about her the night before, but the dream was pretty much like them seeing each other, and her Beast Mode telling the girl, like, you know, I'm not sorry for what I did to you, because clearly, like, you did something that triggered that. However, if that hurt you in any type of way, like, I am truly sorry that you got hurt, you know? And just like, you don't need my forgiveness, but I just had to say that. And then the next day they ran into each other, and she literally regurgitated the same stuff to the girl,
Oh, okay.
and the girl snapped like, well, what did I ever do to you anyway? Like, it was just, yeah.
Mm. Wow.
So yep, go watch it. It's on YouTube.
I'm gonna check it out because
What's the name of her? What's the name of her new podcast?
let's try this again or something like that.
Hmm.
What?
Yeah,
What?
part because yeah, because like
That's why I
No,
said it was
no,
shady.
no, 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 no. No way. There's no way you gonna make that. She's the problem.
Yes, that's why I
She's
said it
definitely
was
the problem.
shady. Let's try this again.
Like, girl, what? Shut up.
This is the thing, and I'm gonna change the subject because this could be a whole topic in itself. She's an Aries, right? I'm an Aries. And when you go through things in your life, sometimes, and we talked about this last week, you gotta self reflect and realize what part you played in it. Something else I saw said, your feelings are always valid, but your behavior is not. So she gotta check some of her actions on how she reacted to things and how she made people feel. because I know I used to be a toxic friend, and that it took growth for me to see that. So I just think she just needs to do some self reflection and realize you're not always right. So I'm gonna just leave that there. But I'm gonna definitely check it out. What you got, Janina?
I have I like that joint. I watched Tamala Mann's Uncensored
Ooh,
on
okay.
TV1. It was good.
I love Tamala Mann.
Yeah, I love her too. Yeah, it was really good. Because some people uncensored, they don't talk about like juicy stuff or things that's interesting, but David was there also. So like when she would leave certain things out, then he would, step in and be like, but it was good. Like she kind of told the story about like when she was part of the family and it was good. Yeah. Like,
Okay. I have to check that. I haven't watched it since I didn't even know it still came on. I'm gonna have to.
yeah, it's still on my DVR, so that's how I catch it.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So I got a note. I don't like that joint, and I don't like when I go into stores and I get profiled. So where I live, the Dollar Tree and the Five Below are next door to each other. So I initially went in Dollar Tree because I need a new what is it called? Like the screen protector for my phone. And the Dollar Tree down here usually has them. So I went Dollar Tree. Of course, you go in there for one thing. You already know you're picking up 5,000 other things, right? So I ended up leaving out of Dollar Tree with some bags. And I was like, I don't feel like walking all the way back to the car. Because then I was like, for Five Below right here, they usually have them too. I just didn't want to spend $5 for one, where I could spend $1.25 for one. So I was like, I don't feel like walking all the way back to the car. Let me just tie up my bags and go in Five Below. But of course, I go in there and touch 5,000 other things too. So I ended up getting a shopping cart. But at first, I was just walking around with the stuff in my hand, and some of the workers were like looking at me. So I eventually went and I got a shopping cart. I put my Dollar Tree bags in the bottom because they have like the 2-tier cart. Put my Dollar Tree stuff in the bottom and my Five Below stuff at the top. But I guess they were on their walkie-talkies to have people watch me. I don't know. When I got to the front, all they had was self-checkout. However, as soon as I got up to the front, the girl was on the floor fixing stuff. She jumped up. She was like, I'll help you. I was like, isn't this self-checkout? She was like, no. So she rings up all my stuff, looking, make sure she got everything. All these other people came up. She did not ring their stuff up or try to help them or anything.
So it is not self-checkout, but
you let these other people check out,
right?
But you get my stuff up. And
they told me the rules changed. They do that here too. In our self checkout, the staff checks you out. They said that the rules changed, but a lot of them took out the regular cash registers,
right?
So they only have them. I'm like, this is weird.
But it was like all these other people came up, they just checking themselves out. Exactly. But it was like as soon as I came up, she jumped up, like, I'll check you out. And I was like, isn't this self checkout? No. But she like looking in my stuff. I don't like that. Because I'm not a thief. I'm going to pay for all of my stuff. Like, so that kind of made me, and like, I could tell something was said because it was just like looking at me. And I'm the type of person like, how are you? Like, what are you looking at me for? And so y'all want to make it awkward? I'm going to make it awkward too. But I just felt like I was too out. So I'm going to have to go to another Five Below nearby. I'm not going there anymore. So we have Chiquita here, and we're going to get into this week's episode topic. And this week's episode topic is something that when we were guests on her show, she brought it to our attention. And so we decided to talk more with Chiquita about this. So this week's episode topic is mothers as the first bullies to their daughters. So we're going to get into that topic, and we got some questions along the way. So
let's go.
So mothers as their daughters' first bullies. How would you say that happens or that tends to happen?
Well, of course, I can only speak, you know, personally with my relationship with my mom. And I have friends and know people that may have the same feelings as well, just because the relationships with their moms have always been like really rocky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Me and my mom used to have like a really tight relationship. Like we did, like it was just me and her like for like a very long time. And she was like one of them young mothers. So she was out here working 2, 3 jobs, like struggling. So I think that made us closer. And I watched her do all that. I was in it with her. And I don't know like when it like really happened, but so slight trigger warning. I was sexually abused in my house by my mom's husband's brother that lived with us. And I was abused most of my childhood. And it was a point in the abuse that I told my mom and her husband that, hey, this person is doing these things to me. And it was only one conversation had, and then it went away. Like no one ever addressed it, anything. So, of course, the abuse continued
Oh my God, how
until
old are you?
at that point, when I said something, I was in, I believe, the 6th grade. But then
Mm-hmm.
fast forward to when I was in 8th grade is when it actually all came out.
So when did it
And
start? Sorry.
when I was in about kindergarten, end of my kindergarten, 1st grade,
Wow.
yeah.
They
Oh,
made
God,
her live there
I'm
all
so
that time?
sorry.
Yeah, because it's a long story.
Was he like special needs or
No,
intellectual disability or something?
nope. He
Mm-hmm.
not this brother. Not this one. He was regular. You know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe some delays like in school with academia and stuff like that, but nothing like, like Down syndrome, like no autism, like nothing like that. Like he was very well aware of what he was doing. And so when it did finally like come out and everything registered, like my mom, of course she was hurt because she's like, was this stuff happening when you told us? I'm like, you think? And I
Mm-hmm.
always, all these years, have kept that in the back of my mind. Like, I did attempt to say something. I apologize. It was too long into it, but I did say something. And ever since then, like when I can really remember, I just became like the second parent in the household because my mom and my stepfather divorced. So she still worked and I still had a younger sibling. And it was like all these responsibilities put on me, right? And, it was to the point where I would have like flashbacks and stuff. My mom would give me like, I hate to even say this, but she would give me like sleeping medicine or something to make me sleep so I would not think. So I wasn't, like very aware of what I was already, was what was going through my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And very like out of the way, like not supportive. I went on to high school, and I've always had a really close relationship with one of my aunts and my grandmother. Like they're like this. Anytime you hear me talking about them on my show, it's because of that. And when everything did come out, like they were just so heartbroken. And then finding out years later that my mom had a chance to stop it, they were really upset. And my mom just had like always had all this anger and hostility. And I felt like it was always being taken out on me.
Mm.
And parents always like, well, you're the oldest, and but still I'm still your child. I mean, my mom worked in corrections for like a very long time. And one reason why I guess I was like kind of scared to even like sneak and do things is because the threats that she would make to me. Like, oh, I would, bash your head against the wall. I would do this and I would do
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah, like my mom is very aggressive. Like still to this day, she's aggressive. And it was until we joined a new church and talking about like the household dynamics, and I had the opportunity to speak about the things that she would say and how she was like very disengaged with me, not so much my sister though. Okay,
Mm.
keep that in mind, not so much my sister.
Mhm.
She started to realize like, okay, maybe my job is affecting my at home relationship with my family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she finally left corrections, but that mentality didn't leave. And
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
fast forward like up until like me being an adult and stuff, when I decided to move out, my mother didn't talk to me for about 5 months after I moved out my first place. Yep. She didn't break the silence until I emailed her one night because it bothered me at my first place. People are visiting me. You won't talk to me. I hadn't seen my sister. And I emailed her just expressing like how I felt and like my feelings was hurt. Like, why was she treating me like this? And she's like, because you left me when I needed you. Because you needed, you needed my money. I've always had to pay bills ever since I've been working. Since I was 16 years old, I've always had to give a portion of my check to my mother towards something in the household. And, that's something common for some
The
Black
Black
families,
families.
you know?
Yeah.
But I managed to like save money and move out, and she did not like that. And it was just like no accountability. It was like no congratulations, I'm proud of you. None of that. So I managed to graduate with my undergrad. We actually walked the stage together with both our undergrads. I went
You
on
and
to
your
go to
mom?
same school. And I managed to go, get my master's degree and things like that. But anytime that I've ever in my life had some type of success, she had to outshadow it with something.
Wow.
It was always outshadowed, when
Wow.
I had a miscarriage, it was about her. Like, I'm like, I'm the one that was carrying the
What's your
child.
mom's
And
sign?
I'm sorry, she's a Aries.
Listen, I don't feel offended because Aries can be toxic. I said that about B. Simone. But
Yeah.
it takes growth and
Yeah.
self-reflection.
Today's my dad's birthday, so
Yeah.
I've lived with
Happy
Aries for a long
birthday.
time.
Yes, listen. But let me
But I
go
don't think,
back.
I don't think your dynamics is, I don't think that that's because that's not normally my interaction with Aries. So I think a lot of that probably could be elements of her own trauma.
So I don't know if you guys, I don't know how long you have been like when you came in really to like listening to my podcast. But one thing that I was very open and candid about was talking about my mental health. And my last suicide attempt was in 2019. And at the time, I was going through like a really bad breakup, and everything just got the best of me in that moment. And my mom, Christians and just beliefs and different things is like, well, go ahead and do it. Kill yourself because you're going to go to hell. And I'm
Wow.
like seriously, like
Yeah, we
this is
definitely could have had you on for suicide awareness, Mom.
like this is what you're saying. And it wasn't helpful for me in that space. At that time, I was seeing a therapist and a psychologist, right? A forensic psychologist, because I needed help.
Right.
And my forensic psychologist was a Black woman. Normally, she would be in the courts working with like killers and murderers and stuff. I don't know how I found this lady, but I'm grateful for her, right? And in talking about the dynamics between me and my mom, because when I tell y'all at my big age of 34, this has been something ongoing.
Oh yeah.
She told me that sometimes when you have a parent, specifically a mother, and they have two different kids or a few different kids, and they're all in different age brackets, the parent normally raises and treats those children according to what was going on in their life at that time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, my mom was a teenage mom. She was 19. She had support from my grandmother, but my father was abusive. He was physically abusive and just mentally. So maybe it's some harness things and just life experiences because I don't know everything, right? And that's when I first was like, okay, I love my mother to death. I promise you, I love my mother to death.
Right.
I learned how to give her grace at that point, but she never gave me the same grace and love that I have extended to her. And I've always felt like I am like yearning for like a support and a mother's love. But my mom looks at me like I'm grown. It don't matter what I go through in my life, I'm gonna always be okay. So she does not have to parent me. But when it comes to my sister, that's her world. And anybody that knows me, you can look at my mom's Facebook, Instagram, and you would think she has one child.
Wow.
I've heard people say that when they maybe confronted their parent and asked, well, why do you do this and do that for this one and not for me? And they would say like, because you didn't need it. They thought like you were good. But and then also what you were saying about like when you had a kid younger, so like my my husband, like his mom had him at 19, then she had like a kid in her 40s. It's a huge contrast in how she raised, the kid she had at 19, who she was young. So like my husband was at other people's house all the time. It is true. But unfortunately, as parents, you have to be on top of your mental health as well, because it causes a ricochet onto your children. Then if they don't get their stuff fixed, then it goes onto your grandchildren, and it just
Yeah.
it just
Do you think your mom, also with your mom's ex-husband, was when things came to a head with the sexual abuse? Is that why they divorced?
I've asked that question like years ago, because I was just like, oh my God, did I break the family up? You know what I'm saying? Like, despite the fact that they had their issues and things, like there was a time when my mother was just like blown away happy with this man. He was a boxer. They traveled, they created a family, they purchased a house, like she was happy. So there were other factors and things that happened in the marriage that as a child I shouldn't know happened, but I know that they happened. So when they separated, that was just based on the things prior, right?
Okay.
The abuse and stuff came out after we had already went to another house and different things. But when it came out, because my story came out in school, they called the police, called my mom, had to come get me. The first place we went was the church. Okay, middle week, going to church to see the pastor, and my stepfather pulls up. She invited him too. I mean, this is his brother, so he's there. But it was like all fun and games, like a key and stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I ever told my mom this, but I felt like she kind of like stabbed me in my back a little, because during the midst of all this happening and stuff came out, like he was still coming over the house to stay the night sometimes. I'm just like not the abuser, but her husband. And I'm just like, how do you let this person in here, right? And what, like, they don't believe me. Like, these people want me off this earth, like they tried every way to keep things like in the house.
He was defending his brother. He defended his brother.
Yeah, like he's made all these years later, like the truth and comment things come out. He had made comments about whether I was like telling the truth or not, because people started to go around saying that, oh, she lied. You know how it goes. Like, that wasn't true. Why did she wait so long? All these different things. But then as they sat and they talked about it, they're like, I think there were signs that we missed them as parents, my mom and my stepfather at the time. I'm like, either you missed them or you just ignored them. You know what I'm saying? But then it just it was a lot surfacing at that time. And it was that one. Then later, she didn't want me to have any type of relationship with my sister's father, and I'm like, this is the only man I've known for like. So it was so conflicting. It was so much. It was so much. But she felt like he was trying to buy me like everything I wanted and just give me money just to like cover up what his brother had did. I'm like, well, that's not going to do it, because we're going to court. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason why I asked that, because sometimes, with that, moms blame you for breaking up their marriage, because if you would have just been quiet, things would have been good. But also, too, that whole thing with still letting him come to the house and all of that goes back to her insecurities and her lack of self-esteem and self-confidence to still allow this man to, be around you, or still have relations with her. Like, you have to, once that happened, there should have been boundaries put in place to protect you. You know what I mean? So
yep. And last year around this time, I actually had my mother on the podcast, and we had a conversation about my whole abuse and everything. This was the first time we've ever had a conversation about this, because anytime in the past that I have tried to have these conversations with her reasoning was, I'm not ready for this. And I'm like,
yeah,
this is like, I understand like my whole family, anytime I bring this up or the conversation comes up, everybody just starts bawling, because everyone feels like they were at fault for it. But I'm like, I need closure from
Yeah.
you, and she would never give me it. So I had to get it on my own. So last year when we had the conversation, it was like she said she was just trying to be a wife. She was just trying to be a mother. And don't get me wrong, I do understand that neither one comes with a handbook. Like you just doing what you're doing. You're
Right.
parenting the best that you can based upon how you were parented, different things. I do also understand trauma. A trauma does not excuse our behaviors and actions though. It,
Mm-hmm.
it it doesn't, especially when you work in mental health. Hello.
Yeah.
you know so a lot of things, even like looking at how our relationship is now, the way that I'm able to maintain any type of relationship with her is because ending of 2023, some things transpired that were like very traumatizing for me. I had to change my expectations for her as a woman and a mother. And I knew
Mm-hmm.
that as long as I still looked at, like, she's still my mom biologically, she's my mom, I will always
Right.
love her. But I had to
Mm-hmm.
change my mind. She's not
Yeah.
giving me what I should be getting. And I'm not going to
Right.
sit here and keep stressing myself out, keep crying
Yep.
and be like, I
Right.
mean, I just felt like I was just over saturating it. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
this people pleasing, it means that if you're going to stop it, you stop it in your families too. And it,
Yeah.
it drew the it drew the line. I had to draw the line. So I look at you like you're my mom, but at the same time, you're a friend, you're an acquaintance, and that's for my sanity alone. You
Right.
know, and
Yeah.
they say sometimes, like when you're going through your own healing and different things, you have to give everybody else the opportunity to catch up to this new version of you. I
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
honestly believe like she doesn't, and I always say this, and my friends used to side eye me, but now they understand what I mean. My mother loves me, but she doesn't like me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Like,
lot of that goes on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now she
I've
might say
heard.
something different, but that's how I
Yeah,
feel.
I've heard a lot of people say that. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that. I think sometimes, like, I know for me, I didn't have a really good relationship with one of my grandmothers, and it wasn't until I kind of looked at her from like a lady, like a woman perspective, not like, oh, my grandmother. And I took into account a lot of the things that she went through. So I'm like, oh, she didn't fix her shit. So like she couldn't be what I needed her to be because she didn't fix her shit. And it's like when it comes to parents, a lot of times it takes you to take like the rose colored glasses off and see your parents' flaws and their
Mm-hmm.
like, because you like, as when you're a child, it's nothing that you think your parents can't do. You get what I'm
Right.
Right.
saying? So it's just like, oh, she's incapable. Unfortunately, sometimes people are incapable of loving you the way that you need them to,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
or being there the way that you need them to. Or and it's like you said with expectations, we talk about that all the time. Like them expectations will have you disappointed all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not easy as
Mm-hmm.
a daughter. It's not easy to tell yourself, I love my mom, there's things that I really would like from her, but she is not capable, she doesn't have these tools in order to give it to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's not easy. That's not easy, an easy pill to swallow. But there's no way that you can be, whole, and then if you have a daughter, become the mother that you need to be if you're yearning for something from somebody who can't give it to you.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how is, because there's kind of your mom, we'll use the word favors your sister more than you. How's your relationship with your sister?
I love my sister. My sister is my backbone. She is my rock. And me and my sister have had numerous conversations because it's very obvious what goes
Mm-hmm.
on. My family sees it. People, what's more embarrassing is people on social media. My hairdresser was like, hey, why does your mom only post pictures and things that your sister accomplishes, but never posts your stuff? Like it's very obvious. It's been obvious for years. And my sister, at one point she did try to downplay it, like, my sister's 24, by the way. So it's like a little age gap. But now like she gets it, and it's like if something happens, like me and my mom, we're in turmoil, and my sister is hearing my side. Of course, my mom is going to paint me as the bad person,
Of
Right.
course.
But I always said that my sister has nothing to do with me and that woman's relationship. So I
Yeah.
would never treat her any different. I've never treated my sister any different. If anything, it's probably brought us closer. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But she will never and has never experienced some of the verbal and mental anguish that I have from my mom.
Yeah.
And this is like no shade and not trying to like discredit my mom like for who she is and all that stuff, but it's my truth. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I do know a lot of times people there's that whole, honor your mother and your father. And
Yeah.
I do believe in it. And for the longest time I tried to live by it. But I'm like, respect should just be given all around. Like it really should,
It should. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So me and my sister, like that's my little homie. Like we cool.
Okay. Good.
What's your
So
mom?
what's it?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What you got?
What's your mom's relationship with your grandmother?
So my grandmother passed in 2020. And what upsets me about that is not of course the fact like my grandmother was
Yeah.
my ride or die.
My grandmother passed
The
in
matriarch of our family. My grandmother raised 6 children and she buried 3.
Wow.
None of them ever, even the living ones, which is my mom and 2 aunts, have ever said anything bad out their mouth about my grandmother. Like everyone loved that woman, you know. She had like, her moments where she was just like hardcore tough too, but she was so loving and kind. So when
Mhm.
I see and my mom act the way that she act or parent the way that she parent, I'm like, my grandmother would have never said and done these things. Like she didn't
Yeah.
treat me like that. Like, did she pop me once in a while? Like, absolutely. But like not threatening to do half the stuff that you've threatened to ever do to me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, your mom was an example of like maybe what you should have been,
Hmm.
you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And they were close. Up until my grandmother was on her deathbed, like they were close. So
Yeah.
I understand that everyone grieves differently and things like that. And I think that a lot of stuff more so recently these last few years has been contribute to like grief and healing, you know. But I mean, it is what it is. Like my grandmother was she loved you, she liked you, and if she didn't, you definitely knew. But she just didn't treat her kid. Yeah, she didn't treat her kids like that. Not from what I've
Right.
ever witnessed, and I've definitely never heard it because they would have said something.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you know why? Because, sometimes, and most of the times, from people that I know, people that I've counseled, the fields that they go into as far as law enforcement and corrections and things like that, they go into that for a reason. So, do you know if your mom has she ever talked about her traumas or been to therapy? Because you, some of the stuff that you're saying, I know that whole feel in that environment of being in that you talk to people any kind of way, and you have to uphold your demeanor to be a certain way so that you're not ran all over. But do you know why she went into that field?
Um, she always wanted to go into the army, but she
Mm.
got pregnant and I was her sacrifice. Okay.
Oh,
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, she sacrificed like
There it
she had
is. Well,
she
there it
had
is.
yeah,
Right. There
yeah.
it
So
is.
she couldn't pursue that. And also like my father was in the army at that time as well.
Mm.
So um when she went into corrections, like I remember like she was taking the test for like the sheriff. Like my mom got accepted into like all these different things and she ended up going into corrections and she was in it for years, came out of it. And this is really going to make you shit bricks when I say this. My mom works in mental health now.
Right.
What?
Yeah. I
Mhm.
heard you say that earlier.
She works in mental health now. She has a whole client base. Like she works in mental health. She's been to therapy. I don't know if she's still getting it. Like I could care less. Like I wish more people would stick with it, but I understand
Right.
for some it has to end. But she was in it. And I know specifically around the time when my grandmother passed away,
Hmm.
she was really we all was getting it. And she did say that around the time when things were happening with me and everything came out that she was in it. She says that she's done her healing. She's healed. So But I
Mm,
also I
So
also know that when I speak on certain things, it agitates her. And I'm like,
mhm.
that's because you're not healed in those areas.
Right,
Otherwise, it would not agitate you.
right, right. And you know what? There are a lot of people in the field of mental health that are not healed. And in
mhm.
turn, they're not helping other people. Hopefully, that's not her story, but it's just they're cracking down on it. I know, especially like in Philly, they were doing it because there was too much stuff that was, things were happening to people because
Mhm.
a lot of stuff was just getting brushed under the rug. But it's a lot of unhealed people in the field of mental health. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but
Listen, don't get me wrong. My mother do a damn good job at her job.
I'm
Like I
sure she
don't like
does.
she does a very good job at her job, her business, like every endeavor that she embarks on, she does an amazing job. She is definitely still one of my role models. I'm not going to even hold you. Like I look up to my mother in a lot of ways. And this last year, I told her last week, I was like, you have taught me a lot in this last year. And one thing that she's taught me is to like live for myself. Like my mother really be just living her best life. And whether it's like not paying attention to like, certain stressors and different things, but she's just like in a spirit of just living freely with I don't want to say with no regard, but doing the things that really make her happy, right? And that was
Mhm.
something that I lacked as
Right.
this last year. So she helps me whether she thinks or not, but I just really wish that our relationship, it will never get back to that what it was when I was a kid, but just improve to just
Mhm.
like I need you to know the same way you needed your mom and you would call your mom when something was going on and you were stressed out and you were crying. That is the same way that I need you at times. And when I come to you with my problems, I don't need you to I told you so or you to yell at me or condone me
Mhm.
for making mistakes, because again, my sister does not always get that. It's like, "Oh, I got
Right.
to clean this up. I'm going to
Mhm.
well, why do I get that? Just because I'm older? Like, you know what I'm saying?"
So let me ask you this: are you the type of person that you always display or tell people like, "I'm good, I got this"? Is that your personality, or do you do that?
Used to be
Okay.
like you would never know that anything was wrong.
Mhm.
I think until I really start addressing my mental health, I'm like some stuff I just can't hide. So when
Okay.
I have moments of when I'm not okay, like you'll see, like I'm not on social media. You
Mhm.
you probably
Yeah.
you could probably get in contact with me if you have like my number and stuff, but I isolate and
Right.
I don't really recommend people doing that, but I isolate so I won't mess up someone else's energy. I don't want to be that friend or I never wanted to be that friend that every time something was wrong, here she come again. Like that's never going to be me, you
Yeah.
know. But and I don't do that with my family. Like I'm so grateful for my friends because the stuff that I'm sharing with y'all, like they had to hear this. Like they have helped me heal through these different things because some of them never experienced the dynamics of family or a mother daughter that I have, and the ones that
Mhm.
do, we help each other.
Right. And the reason why I asked you that is because that's something that I had to learn is that I was always telling people like, "I'm good, I'm okay," and I had
Mhm.
so much perseverance that it's like, "Oh, something happened, you'll get back up." And when
Yeah.
people view you like that, they'll look at you like, "Oh, you got it. You always got it together. You'll always be able
Yep.
to pick yourself up." You know what I mean? So that may be how she looks at you, which is unfortunate, but
Yeah.
that's why you gotta when you're not okay, "I'm not okay, I'm not good, I need help." And I know that that's a big thing to ask for help, but if you don't, then people are gonna always just be like, "Oh, she good, ain't nothing wrong with her." You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Well, see,
Yeah.
I wasn't taught that to hide that though, right? Because at a very young age, I was taught how to hide my feelings. So if I hurt myself and like, how you get that bubbling up, you about to cry, it's like, no, you better not. So I was learned and trained how to suck that up at a very young age. So
Yeah.
Mm,
as a child, did I cry in the silence in my room by
right,
myself in the
Yeah.
dark? You know what I'm
right,
saying? Because I know if they see me crying, they gonna give me a beating or something, or I'm gonna get
Yeah.
punished, you know?
Mhm.
And even with
Yeah.
my grandmother, it wasn't that she didn't embrace vulnerability, but it wasn't like, girl, just let it out. It's like, okay, get this out, go in the bathroom, clean your face up,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
keep doing what you gotta
Come
do.
back
So
out with your game face on, like it didn't happen. Mhm.
exactly, but always on the inside, I've always said like I'm like putty because
Me
I
too.
truly do have I have feelings, you know.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
now that I'm
Yes.
old, girl, I'm a crybaby sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When you've been holding it in for years. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
has this affected your relationship with friends or females in any way?
Um, thankfully, no.
Okay.
Like, do I have a hard time making friends? Maybe sometimes, right? Just because I feel like other people have different traumas and trust issues, which I'm not saying everyone should just jump out there and trust everybody, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like when people are too kind, or you meet someone with a personality like mine, someone's first instinct is like, okay, what does this person want from me? And I'm like,
Mm,
I don't want anything. This is just me, right? So I have a very selective group of like my inner circle. Like y'all met Jessica, and
mhm,
I have a couple more, girlfriends in my inner circle. And I've played on basketball teams up until I was in college. So I still talk to like some of my teammates and stuff. So I have different rapports and, relationships with different people and thing. It did at one point kind of hinder my like dating relationships though.
Mm.
mhm,
Um when I was with the guy that I was pregnant by, he was like, how some people when they're really into you, they're like planning your future and like all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to move out of town because my mom needs me and I gotta be here. And he's like, Kita, like when are you going to live for yourself? And like when are you gonna like we're starting a family? Like I need you here. And I'm like, but my
Mm.
mom needs me, you know? And it was
Wow.
like those are words that I like always would keep in my mind because it's like he was right. Unfortunately,
mhm.
he was right. you
Yeah.
know? So anytime that I would like get into relationships or different things, my mom was like always wanting the last people to find out. Always wanted the
Mhm,
last people to find out. And there's other reasons why. Because I didn't always like I dated women too. And that was a
mhm,
whole nother ordeal. And I feel like that also was part of what hindered our rapport because at
Mm.
part of her life, she was just like, "Oh no, like you can't do this. You can't live in my house. You can't be this way. This is a sin and all this other stuff. And you can't tell me what I'm going to do." And it was, you need to go to therapy because you're only like this because you were sexually assaulted. And I'm like,
mm,
Mm.
okay, maybe this
Right.
goes deeper. So
right.
it was, that definitely did carve like a distance between us. Fast forward to today, she's like, I think people just should leave the LGBT community alone. I think that it's, some of these things are really genetic. I was like, well, where
Mm,
was this back then?
right.
She's
Right.
like,
Oh, some people, I mean, some women date women because they got mommy issues,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
because they're looking for a safe feminine space.
Mhm,
Um, but you know, I think, like you say, you sometimes Shalia says this all the time. You gotta meet people where they are, and you will stress yourself out trying to get them to react or do things that you wish they would do. Unfortunately, I mean, I just I know as a parent, as a mother of a daughter, and then like my mother, I didn't have those dynamics of like my mom was always been a caring person, and my sisters are not the same type of mother as my mom either.
Mhm.
And um like my daughter said the other day, like, oh yeah, maybe you should be try to be more like my mom. Listen, because my mom, when it comes to Easter, she got them Easter baskets on deck all the time, and I do not. So,
Now that
but
my mom still gives East like I got an Easter gift from
oh
her.
yeah,
She's Valentine's Day. Like I'm 34. She still does all of those
right,
things. Go
yeah,
out. She goes all out for holidays and things. But on the backside of that, it always feels like it comes with a price.
mhm,
wow,
yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it comes with a price sometimes. I mean, this woman has literally talked me out of applying for certain positions and told me that I wasn't built for certain careers. You
mm,
know, and I mean, I end up I end up going to school for criminal justice. We both graduated with our bachelor's in criminal justice. And this should tell you something, you know? And I followed in her footsteps, going to work in residential facilities and psych hospitals, doing the same type of work that she told me that I was never going to be successful in. And I was.
And I was just thinking, you know, when you were talking about the relationship where you were in and you got pregnant, you having those thoughts that I gotta stay here, my mom needs me. You know, we inflict a lot of things on ourselves because our mental health is in a specific place. So do you ever think back and say that may have played a part in your miscarriage?
Oh, I don't know, because like that whole pregnancy thing was so weird. I didn't know I was pregnant until I was literally about 3 months. And because all my tests were coming back negative or
Wow.
whatever. And yeah, everything, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just stressed out. This is my last year of grad school. I'm working full time. Maybe I'm just stressed out. And then I end up, you know, at first the doctors, they wouldn't take me right away. They're like, you know, you probably just missed periods, because I did have like a slight history of, you know, like PCOS and things like that.
Crazy.
And then I go for like my annual meeting a new doctor, and I got they did the blood work. I go home and I'm literally checking the results. I'm like, well, what does
Blood
this
work gonna
mean?
lie. Yeah, that blood work gonna
Yeah.
lie.
I'm like, well, what? I said, hold on, let me call these people, because I had been outside. You know, I was in my early 20s. I was outside. And that's when they like, oh, yeah, this is what it means. These are your levels. So everything started so fast, like so fast from that point. Going in for ultrasounds. Mentally, I was just like, and I promise you, anyone that knows me from that time will tell you, my only goal was to be the mother that my mother never was to me. That's all it was. That's everything that I always say till this day. I was like, okay, I got a job. And the first person I told, besides my best friend, and of course the guy was what I called my grandmother. Because here at my big age, I felt like if I told my mom, she was going to be mad at me. Mind you, I'm living by myself. So I called my grandmother, and, you know, she was like, oh, honey, I knew.
Yeah,
And
they always know.
yeah, I had, like, it was like on Easter, we were together, and she told me on Easter that I was pregnant. I was like, Grandma, you're crazy. Like, no, I'm not. And then my mom just happened to be out of town, and I called her and I told her, and she was happy. And I was like, oh my God, I thought you was gonna be mad. And she's like, why would I be mad? She's like, you're about to graduate from grad school, you got a good paying job. Like, I don't know who this guy is, but like, because again, I don't bring people home until like maybe like the last minute if she meets them. But mentally, I just wanted to be healthy. I just wanted to have that baby. And yeah, like, so me and her, she was very supportive through everything. You know, when I had my miscarriage, she's the one that damn near held my hand until they put me to sleep.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, going back to meeting people where they are and just accept. Do you think you're at the point now where you've accepted who she is?
Oh, most definitely. Because I'm able to give her grace, right? I have been able to forgive her from the moments that she hurt my feelings. Even still to this day, if she says something, I let it like brush off my shoulders, because it's like, you know how some people, even if they're wrong and you're like, okay, they can still argue you down. Like, she's that person. And I just like bow out gracefully, because it's not worth my energy. It's not worth me getting stressed and worked up about, like, I'm not going to win this. Like, you can have it, you know? So like now where I'm at, like I said, I had to change my expectations and my perception around the whole entire situation, and not allow it to continue to hinder my growth, my well-being, my mental health, like none of that. You know, with me in the process of like moving out of state and stuff, one of the main things that people was asking me is about, was I going to go no contact? And at first I was like, most definitely. Like, most definitely, because, you know, I need it. And now I'm at the point, I'm like, you know, if distance will make our relationship better, then maybe that's just what it is. I'll be grateful for it. But I just can't release the full attachment of like never talking to you or seeing my mom again. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
understandable. That's definitely understandable. But again, just having those boundaries in place and accepting her for who she is and having. I don't know if you ever heard of the gray rock theories, like with people who, like you said, they're wrong, but they'll argue you down. You kind of just don't give them a lot of attention or a lot of words to feed off. Because if you
Mhm.
go back and forth with them, they're going to continue it. So that's kind of like
Mhm.
the gray rock thing. Like, I'm over here, but I'm not really over here. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
maybe distance is what y'all need to kind of because distance, they say distance makes the heart grow fonder. So maybe um that may be what you guys need. And then too, I don't know if you ever experienced parents who don't have good relationships with their children. They kind of make up for that through their grandchildren. So
Um, yeah, yeah, because I actually have one of my good friends. That's what I was trying to tell her in regards to her situation.
mhm,
Um, so God willing, when I do have children, we will see how that plays
mhm,
out. But I also, have had conversations with people about like parents trying to live through their kids
mhm,
and their kids not being what they wanted them to be. So then that starts like this weird dynamics and things like that. I don't think like my mom tried to ever like live through me, but
mhm.
and I hate to say it, but I feel like people didn't think that I was going to make it this far. People didn't. I ain't supposed to be here. Like people thought I was going
Yeah,
to jump off the cliff. People
mhm,
thought I was going to OD on the pills and the alcohol and all of those things that I tried. So that
mhm,
the fact that I'm still here solid in good mental space and physical space and I'm doing a lot and I'm thriving, I feel like it catches a lot of people off guard, including her. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
And it's weird
Yeah,
to say because as a parent, if I had a kid now and my kid is accomplishing as much as I am, I would be bragging as much as I get the opportunity to, you know?
mhm,
But I don't
yeah,
get that, but my sister do.
yeah, yeah. But as long as you're at the point in life where you accept her for who she is, it's not, allowing you not to accomplish your goals and do the things that you need to do for yourself, then I would say kudos to you because a lot of people don't get to that point. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that you've been able to work through it, go to therapy, especially, working through your sexual abuse. That's a long time to be
Mhm.
abused, a
A long
very
time.
long time. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I definitely can't even imagine. And
And
having that
you
live in
know
a house.
something, I'm like curious. I've never asked my mom this. She may hear this, she may not. Like I always want to know for like parents that were informed that their child could have potentially been abused and they didn't address it and then it came out that they was, how would they feel to find out that your child was abused again and they just
Mm,
chose not to tell you
hmm.
because you did not do anything the first time. So why would I tell
Nothing.
you again?
It
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, woo, you've been through a lot. Resilient. You are definitely resilient. And I definitely commend you and the fact that you kept going and you still love your mom. You still, have that in your heart because that's sometimes hard to overcome. But the fact that you can still say, like, I love her and I accept her for who she is and, still want to be in contact with her and be in the household with her, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It's been a long road, but I do what I have to do for me. At some point, I
Yeah.
think I just had to really realize that being told so many times that I had to make the same sacrifices that were made for me, I had to like really get to the point where, well, just because you had to make them, I didn't ask to be here.
Right.
Right.
Like, for
Right.
one, I didn't ask to be here. But two, I have to live for me because if I don't live for me and I'm living for everyone else, how is that pleasing myself? You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, any last words, Janina or Chiquita? Anything else
Um,
to leave the people with?
I would say because I feel like parental relationships can get messy and a lot of people avoid dealing with the conflicts. Like I had friends who had issues with their mother and I don't think it ever was resolved even when their mother passed away. But I think that you shouldn't avoid like, confronting them if it's things that you feel like you need to get out your heart. Some people, they write letters, they say whatever they have to say about certain incidents that may have occurred that hurt them, and it's preventing them from growing as a person. So I just think no matter how old you are, you're never too old to let your parents know about things that happened that hurt you, that you may need closure for in order to move forward. The worst thing that happen is they ignore it, but the best case scenario is that they validate your feelings and apologize and try to see what you need to move forward.
Yeah. Once you get it out and you let them know, the onus is on them. You gotta get to the point where you're like, I told them how I felt. Now I gotta work on forgiving myself, but also forgiving them. And a lot of times people don't forgive themselves, and that's a whole nother topic too.
Yeah. Yes. And just to add to that, accountability and communication. Like those are two thriving factors in any type of relationship, whether it's an intimate, a friendship, definitely with family and parents. Real quick, I watched this video yesterday on YouTube. It was this Black woman. I can't think of her name, but her father, he was on a TED Talk, and she was a victim of sexual abuse as a child, and not by her father, but her stepfather, because I guess she didn't have a relationship with her dad. Like, he wasn't there when things started to come out. Because of her trauma and things, she set him down and told him everything, and it hurt him because he's like, oh, if I did a better job of being a parent and I was there, maybe these things wouldn't have happened to you. And because of her trauma and her experience communicating and him taking accountability, they now have the best relationship.
Right.
Best relationship. And I think what that story, symbolized for me is sometimes in life, horrible things happen. But if there is no healing on neither end of the stick, then the relationship can't thrive. It can't heal. It can't get better. And no one has to point fingers, none of those things. Sometimes your child, even adult, just wants someone to talk to, and they want that person to be you. Whether you agree or not, whether, they blame you for it, you can't discredit their experience because that's just how they feel, So just focus on positively trying to communicate and just taking accountability for the part that you played in that relationship.
Yeah. Well, keep sharing your story. You never know who is going to inspire and touch, and keep fighting. Keep striving to be a better you. You know what I mean? Because you are not the things that happen to you, and that's something to definitely remember. You don't have to make the things that happen to you who you are, and let that stop you from thriving and achieving your goals in life. Yeah. So we're going to end our episode like we always do, and I'm gonna turn it over to Janina.
So we're gonna do the game. I hope I thought of something just fun. I did this category before with somebody else, but either way, it's Black hairstyles. So you just pick the one that you prefer. You don't have to wear it yourself. Whatever you prefer, either to see on other people or whatever. So just let me know when you're ready.
Let's go.
Okay. Knotless or box braids?
Knotless.
Sewn in or lace front wigs?
Lace front, because these wigs these days is looking real good.
A high bun or a high pony?
A high pony.
Soft locks or boho locks?
Soft locks.
Relaxed or natural?
Relaxed.
Ooh,
that here crack. Wet and wavy or Brazilian straight?
Brazilian straight. I'm a straight girly.
Middle part or side part?
Side.
A pixie cut or bob?
What's a pixie? I'm gonna say a bob.
Bantu knots or a braid out?
Braid out.
Edge control or let's jam?
Oh my god, jam. I'm a jam
Really,
type of girl.
light jam
Yeah.
do not work on me anymore.
For real?
Yeah, my hair be so soft. Well, I got locks now, so I ain't got to worry about it. Lemonades or tribal braids?
Tribal braids? What are those?
Oh,
Like
it's
all
like
these different,
triangles.
yeah.
It's like
Oh,
curls.
triangle. Okay. Okay. Lemonade. Yeah. Beyonce did her big one with those.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. Cool. I was surprised by a few, but
I know the perm probably threw a lot of people off. Like I personally can't do natural, but like my friends have like these big curly. I
hmm
love it. And
Definitely like it.
if someone was to tell me like, hey, go natural and you can have that tomorrow, I would. But I know it's not gonna just take, a couple of days,
yeah,
a couple of
you
months to
got
get to that
trained your
point.
hair. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I
have time for all that.
The funny thing about jam, I recently do I use jam? No, what's the other one? It's not jam, it's like jam.
Shine.
Shine and gel.
Shine and gel. Yeah.
I recently went back to that because the edge control was making my hair like with this white.
Oh yeah.
I was
Which one
like,
were you
what?
using?
It was like fuchsia pink or reddish or something like that. I think it was
It's
called Edge
one
Booster. Edge
it's
Booster.
one off
Oh,
of TikTok
booster.
that
Oh, okay.
I wanted to try. This it's one of a TikTok. It sounds so crazy, but the white girl made it. But it's like a gel.
Oh, combat gel.
Yes, because like
Oh, I
all
need
the
to
black girls that had
see
the natural hair, they was their hair didn't move. It didn't move.
Yeah,
And like their
combat gel.
ponytails looked everything was like slick. And she even used it in her kids' curls.
Mhm.
And I don't know what she did with that, like what her ingredients was, but it seemed to be getting some good reviews. I wanted to try it. I was like, I
I'm gonna
wonder how
try
this one
it
did.
because
Oh
I'm in
yeah.
the search for something. Because I'm like, my hair is so soft, my edges they need something with hold.
Yeah. What my daughter, she's been using the gummy is styling wax.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's been working for her. But
It
yeah,
don't
like
have no white cast or anything because I don't have
right.
time to be putting
Yeah.
water. And I
Well, her
don't.
hair is like brown, like yours is like brown. Her hair is like brown like that too. And so the white that like some things that work for me don't work for her. So
Mhm.
yeah, that Less Jam has been working. I mean, not Less Jam. The gummy is black. It's gummy. Yeah, that's been working
Okay,
for her.
I need something over here. But yeah, TikTok shop. I ordered. I just recently ordered this makeup spray that comes in like a hair like it looks like hairspray.
Mm-hmm.
And I
The
tell
pink, the
you,
pink, the pink, the pink.
yes, that thing is magical. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, I saw that. That was trending around the time of the Renaissance. I don't wear makeup, but a lot of people was getting it because they was like, fixing their faces up. They didn't have
Mhm.
nothing was running. I think a white guy. Is it the white guy that make it? Is that his brand?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, I was like, ooh, it's a little pricey, but it's worth it
Oh.
because you don't need a lot either. And
Mm.
I was like, I need a setting spray for my big day that's coming up soon. So I think that's going to be the one. That's going to be the one. But we appreciate you for coming on, for sharing your story and intimate details of your life. We definitely appreciate your transparency because that's not always easy to do. So we definitely appreciate you for that. Tell everybody where they can find your podcast so that they can follow you.
Yes, and thank you, ladies, for opening your platform and creating this safe space for people like me to tell my story and your other guests that come through here. So yes, Chronicles of a Virgo podcast. You can find me on YouTube and any podcast platform. So Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, whatever your preference is. And I'm on
Mhm.
social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those at Chronicles of a Virgo podcast.
So y'all definitely go follow Chiquita, the host of Chronicles of a Virgo podcast. Very good podcast, very good guest, mental health, personal areas of her life. So definitely go check her out and follow her. Um, and you guys know where y'all can find us. Every Wednesday, we are on 216 The Blend. And you can go to our Instagram at the_JAWN_podcast. Tap the link in our bio and it'll take you to everywhere we are. So we will catch you guys next week. Again, we appreciate Chiquita and peace out.
Peace out.
All right.
Hold up. Don't leave yet. Thanks for listening to my mom and auntie. Make sure you guys follow them on Instagram at @the_JAWN_podcast, on Twitter at W_the_J, on TikTok at the JAWN A Podcast, and visit our website www.jawnpod.net. Don't forget to ask the JAWN, sending your listening letters to thejawnpod@gmail.com. Period.
This is the JAWN